And just like a wine tasting, I don't know if anyone's done a wine tasting. You know, when you taste it, then you rinse your mouth with water and spit it out. I mean, very la-di-da, right? So you're fresh for the next one. Well, they do the same thing with chocolate. Well, I was amazed that every chocolate I tasted was different. Some tasted like lavender, some tasted like rose, some tasted like real sweet, some were not. I was amazed that everyone was different. Somewhere in the middle, I came across a chocolate, but I said, I hate to tell you, but this tastes like burnt wood. I said, well, just write what you taste, and let, just write it down. So I went through the whole thing, and when I was done, they said, now let us explain something to you. Chocolate grows in the mist in the mountains, right? They said, that chocolate you tasted there is usually it's a Belgium 69, I mean, some year, whatever they said. It's usually one of the finest chocolates, but that year they had forest fires in the valley. And the point is, they said that fine chocolate is like wine. Every year, a different area of the world has the finest chocolate. Just like the finest wines change, so does chocolate. So that's why we laughed at you when you said you want the finest chocolate. We went, as of today, or how about next year? Because we don't know what that crop will be. So I had to make a decision. They said the fine chocolates, Godiva and whatnot, they're not the finest chocolates, they're blends. And if you know anything about wine, you know if you blend a wine, it's never as good as an origin wine. Because an origin wine is true to that origin, where you blend wines, you do all these different things. But the reason that big chocolate companies blend them is because they want the same taste every time. So we blend to get an exact same taste. It's not the finest chocolate, it's just the same taste. Okay? So they said, so you have a decision now. You want the finest chocolate for this year, and then maybe next year it's different? Or do you want a blended taste? My tendency is to always go with the finest, so I said, okay, I want the finest chocolate. So last year it was from Venezuela, this year it's from Tanzania. So it changes every year. But that just gives you an idea. When you're baking, you probably go and say, oh yeah, here's a Hershey cooking chocolate. There's a million chocolates that can change the taste of your dish so many different ways. So you should really look at that. When you do cinnamon, don't buy cinnamon. By the way, you all have spices and seasonings in your cupboards, right? Anybody have those little tin cans? Okay, good, throw them away. Okay? Because if they're in a tin can, they're already beyond date that they don't do anything. Because they stopped making tin cans so many years ago that any seasoning you have in a tin can is like you're putting nothing in. Okay, so get rid of your tin can seasonings, okay? That's one thing you should know. So anyway, I started traveling all around the world. This is what started. And while I was traveling, I would stop at different restaurants and try different dishes. And I would sit there and say, I'm a chef in the United States. I love the way you did this dish. Would you show me how to do it? Interestingly enough, probably 7 out of 10 chefs would say, sure, not a problem. I'll show you. Come on in the kitchen, especially countries like Italy and France, because they're so proud of what they do. You know, for them, it truly is an art. Whether you're in this little place stuck in a corner or not, it's an art to make their dish. Okay? And for the other 3, it's usually the 3 that would say no are usually new chefs. And the reason is, if you're an experienced chef, you know that if I sit there and eat that dish 3 times, I'll tell you what's in it. Okay, so you're going to make me eat it 3 times? I will, whatever, but I'm going to figure it out. I may not have the exact amount, but you can play with that. So usually 7 out of 10 times they would say, not a problem, I'll show you. So I learned all these great recipes. I brought those back to America. My Bistro in 40 has about 30 different dishes for breakfast and lunch. Every dish is from a different country. And every dish is done exactly the way they do it from that country. So it's really an experience. Now my bistro is designed like a French bistro. 2 things that are different I found in the United States versus the rest of the world, and this includes all the rest of the world, not just Europe. One, we in America, I've learned not to say America. I just came back from a trip to Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay. And I constantly was corrected when they said, where are you from? And I said, America. They said, yeah, good, so are we. Where are you from? So now I say the States, or United States, because they're from America too. Okay? And they constantly would be saying, oh, it's good you're from America, but which part? I said, okay, I didn't say learn. So anyway, in the United States, we're all about big and fast. We're the only place, here in maybe Canada, that has drive-thrus. You don't find drive-thrus in Europe. You don't find drive-thrus in South America or the Caribbean. You don't find chains in those places, by the way, okay? Which is interesting. They were all individual little restaurants or bistros. So I wanted to do, I've always been one of those people that, my wife always laughs because she said, I'll hear somebody trying to sell you something. You'll say, oh, you want to do this? Everybody's doing that. She said, by them saying that, I knew they just lost you. You're never going to do it if everybody's doing it. They don't know it. They think they're selling you. They just lost you. And it's the truth. I didn't want to have the best burger. Okay? Everybody has the best burger. I wanted to have dishes that you won't find anywhere else in the world. Okay? Or anywhere, surely not here. One of the things I wanted to do is, I didn't want to bring my dishes. I had been from New York and I knew how big the city was. I wasn't crazy about bringing my dishes into a big metropolitan area. An interesting thing happened. And this actually comes in interesting here. I was on TV, they were interviewing me about my cakes. And they asked me, they said, are you going to open up a retail place? I said, well, you know, a town just contacted me called Sunnyvale. And I'm going to talk to them tomorrow. Well, the executive director of economic development for Forney called me and said, Sunnyvale? What am I going to Sunnyvale for? They don't have anything. Where are you going to be? Out in the woods?
Church.
They don't even have a downtown. She said, why are you going to be in Sunnyvale? And so I didn't even know where Forney was, quite honestly, right? And I said, okay, I'll come out and talk with you too. Well, let me tell you. Forney went out of their way. Sunnyvale was, yeah, okay, you could go here or there, and you know, we're not looking really for, this is the time when Sunnyvale wasn't looking for commercial, so they weren't doing any incentive. They were like, yeah, you might go there or there, good luck. Yeah. Forney said, we want you in our downtown. They said, we have been looking at towns like, God, what can I think? McKinney, Grapevine, Bishop Arts area. We want our town to be like that. So we're going to make our downtown like that. We understand that all the suburbs have chains. And as the mayor said to me, he said, nobody's going to come to Forney to go to the Forney's Chili's. Okay? We want them to come to Forney, so we want to have unique restaurants that you have to come to Forney to go to that restaurant. And so they said the hard thing is getting the first one, because nobody wants to be the first one, and if anyone's been to downtown Forney, I was there in 2012 is when we opened. There was nothing there. Okay, you can get your hair done or nails done, which you can do every day in a little small town, right? Okay, and that was it, right? So nobody wanted to go there, so they said, we'll make it worth your while to come here. And they made a deal that I couldn't refuse, and that's how I ended up in Forney. Okay? Anyway, so I ended up in Forney, opened up my bistro January 2012. We get a ton of business, believe it or not. Now, a lot of you are not from Forney, right? But a lot of you aren't even from Sunnyvale. And that's funny, because I heard people say, oh, I came a long way, like from Mesquite to Garland. I live in Allen. I don't think you came a long way. Okay? I get 70% of my business from my bistros from out of town. Okay? 35 is from Heath, Rockbrook. Okay, 10% of my business is from out of state.
Yes.
Yeah. And we were talking about this. I was like, I'm a pretty good businessman, and I had all my business plan of how many people I'm going to have and where and whatnot. I never thought I'd get one person from out of state, unless they were lost, right? You know, because who goes to Forney from out of state, right? Well, what I found was that they all come down 20, because what I do is I ask my girls to ask everybody, where did you hear of us, if they're new? Are you new to us? And where did you hear of us? What made you come here? And we get the same story. By the way, from Rockwell Heath, they always say two things. One, there's nothing like this there. And two, it's easier to go this way than to go that way. That's what I hear all the time.
Yes.
Right. Okay, secondly, but from out of town, what I would get is two things. We're going down 20. So it's never on 80, it's always going down 20. And we're going from Boulder, Colorado to Atlanta, Georgia. And we wanted to stop and eat at something unique. We didn't want to go to a chain, because we can do that at home. We wanted to go somewhere unique. And my first question always was, well, why wouldn't you stop in Dallas? And to the person, they would say, oh, traffic and whatnot. We either stop before the cities or right after. We don't go too far out, because then it's back to small town diners, which we don't want to do. But if you get just in the suburbs, you get unique restaurants that can serve the cities and you don't have all the traffic. So 40 happens to fall on just on the other side of Dallas kind of thing. So that's where we get a lot of our business. I also get some business because I ship my cakes all over the world, and a lot of people, in fact, if you go to my bistro, lots of times you'll see shuttles, because people will do a layover in Dallas on purpose, come here to eat, and then fly back out to wherever they're going. Because they've had my cakes, and they've always wanted to try the bistro, but they don't live here. So those are the two things that we get. But, give you an idea, just real quick, on what I usually, when I do my speaking engagements, I speak on travel, because I do travel all around the world. What I do, I used to travel, and when I would tell my clients that I traveled around the world to find dishes, so many of my guests at my bistro would say, oh, I'd love to, this sounds great, you're going to Buenos Aires? I'd love to go with you, right? So what I did, I started taking people with me. I take anywhere from 5 to 10 people. We go to the city. What I would do is I'd rent an Airbnb. I make breakfast for them every morning. They go out around the city, do what they want, and then at night we'd go to the restaurants, find dishes that I bring back to the United States, which is a lot of fun. Interestingly enough, I took a group to Cuba, and everybody was afraid. They said, oh, everybody said Cuba, terrible, whatnot. Let me tell you, one of the things I always ask people when we're done, would you go back? And they always said, sign me up. Whenever you're ready to go to Cuba, I'd go back. The people were really friendly, the beaches were really nice. The towns were beautiful, old architecture. The food was really interesting. It was really a lot of fun. And we actually, the other thing they told me don't do is, we were filming in Cuba because they filmed for a pilot TV show for me, because they feel it's interesting that I not only fly around the world to find dishes, they looked at it as 3 segments that are unique to TV. 1, you go around the world to look at dishes. That sounds like Anthony Bourdain, who's now gone, so there's an opening there. 2, you then bring them back to your bistro and you talk to your chefs and work out how you're going to do it and whatnot, which is kind of unique. And 3, you're introducing it to small town America, which is used to meat and potatoes, not unique dishes. So will they accept it? Won't they accept it? So they love that idea.